Okay, Vanessa, sorry, forgot that.
Hey, no worries. Thank you. Okay, so thanks everyone for your interest in joining National Whale and Dolphin Watch. So it's an annual event run by the Seawatch Foundation. So yeah, as Mark said, I'm a volunteer regional coordinator for the Somerset and Exmoor area. But today I'm going to give you like an overview of cetacean species that have been recorded and that you can see all around the UK. Some of the quite rare species, but others that are widely distributed around the UK, and that you so a fair few species that you are most likely to see when you do a watch. So I'll start with the different types of cetaceans that you will see and how you can identify them. So cetaceans are the group name for whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And within this group, there are toothed whales, which include the dolphins and porpoises. And then you have also the baleen whales, which have fringe plates made up of keratin, which filter feed food from the seawater. Baleen whales also have 2 blowholes, whereas toothed whales only have 1 blowhole. So what you want to look out for when you have a sighting. So unfortunately, it's not always the whole animal that you will see. It won't be as good a picture as that you can see here. But first of all, you want to look at the overall size, so the length of the animal. This can be quite difficult if you do not see the whole of the animal. But if you can get a good estimate, say if you're able to compare it to something that you're familiar with, such as a boat, for example. Otherwise, just make a good estimate of the size and give a size range as well. Then you want to see whether it has a dorsal fin and look at the shape of the dorsal fin, the positioning of the dorsal fin, and then also to look out if you can see the head, so look for the head shape and whether there's a beak. Look at the length of the size of the beak. Another thing to look out for might be the spout. So when they come up to breathe, you might see a blow, and also coloration patterns and skin marks. So we'll start with some of the baleen whales that you might sight along the UK coast. So we'll start with the group of baleen whales called the rorquals. And the smallest of the rorquals are the minke whales. So I should have said, so rorquals are a group of baleen whales which have throat folds, so they're able to open up their throats and their mouths very wide to take in large amounts of seawater to filter food from the water. So the minke whale is the smallest of these rorquals, and so in the bottom corner you can see that the first sighting you'll have is of the head. So it's got quite a pointed triangular head, so that will come out the water first, and then you'll see the blow and the dorsal fin simultaneously. So the dorsal fin is about 2/3 down its back. It is quite a recurved shape. Another distinguishing feature for the minke whale is that it has white bands on its pectoral fins, or its flippers. This you can see clearly here as it's breaching out of the water. And then the fin whale, which is in the rorqual family, is a much larger, up to 24 meters. It's got a long, slender body and can reach speeds of up to 37 kilometers per hour. And this has a slightly smaller dorsal fin compared to the minke whale. But the most distinguishing feature of the fin whale is that it has a darker side on its left side of its head, but then on the right side it is white. So the right side of its head is white, and that's the most distinguishing feature for the fin whale. And the blue whale, which is a rarer species seen on the UK coast, so usually more offshore, But this is the largest of the baleen whales, of the cetaceans, and the largest animal on the planet. So this is a very long, slender body, and as you can see, the dorsal fin is a lot smaller and quite far back towards its tail flukes. It has quite a U-shaped long head, and a distinguishing feature is that it has quite a large splash guard in front of its blowhole. Next up, the humpback whale. So this is quite a distinctive species, quite a well-known species that can be seen. And these are becoming more common along the UK coast as they travel from their breeding grounds in Western Africa up to more of their feeding grounds around the waters around Norway. And so these humpback whales have quite a bobbly, knobbly head and also have very long flippers or pectoral fins, up to 5 meters long. And these are usually white in colour and quite bumpy as well. It has quite a distinctive tail flukes. So it has white tail flukes with quite a lot of markings on them. And these are unique to each animal. So these, the patterns on the tail flukes can be used to identify individuals. So some features that you want to look out for to be able to distinguish between the species, you want to look at the fin type. So some whale subcetaceans don't actually have a dorsal fin, such as the right whale and its relative, the bowhead whale. Some just have a little ridge on their back, such as the sperm whale, which is the largest of the tooth whales. And the humpback whale, for example, has quite a low dorsal fin with a little hump at the front of it, which gives it its name. As I mentioned with the rorquals, they have quite they have a recurved dorsal fin that's about 2/3 along their back, and other whales and dolphins may have a centrally placed dorsal fin, which is much taller. And the harbour porpoise in particular can be distinguished from dolphins by its dorsal fin, as it's quite small and triangular in shape. So as I mentioned, the rorquals have a few different head shapes. So the blue whale has a more of a U-shaped rounded head. The fin whale is less so, and the minke whale has a more triangular pointed head. Other head shapes that you might come across, so with the bottlenose whale, which is more of a deep water offshore species, but this has quite a pronounced bulbous or rounded head, or melon as it's called, and quite a distinctive beak. The Cuvier's beaked whale, which is found in more offshore warmer waters, but can be seen sometimes off the UK coast, has quite a distinct beak with the lower jaw kind of curving upwards. And the right whale has quite a square head with quite a large lower jaw. And the sperm whale as well has a very large square head. It's about 2/3 of its body length. So you can also look at the fluke shapes of cetaceans to distinguish the species. So the right whale has quite a broad tail fluke with quite a deep central notch. And the sperm whale has more of a triangular, broad tail fluke with like ridges on the edge. And this also has a deep central notch. And as I mentioned before, the humpback whale, it's got quite a distinctive white tail fluke with lots of bumps and knobbly bits on the edge, but quite a shallow central notch. And then the blue whale has a broad tail fluke with a shallow central notch, and the edges of the tail fluke are quite pointed and recurved. And you may sight some spouts. So when the cetacean comes up to breathe, you might see their blow. So here we have at the top, we have the right whale, and its relative, the bowhead whale, also blows like a double blow in a V shape. And the sperm whale has quite a distinctive blow as well, in that it blows forward and slightly to the left. So we'll move on to a few of the toothed whales. And a lot of the toothed whales have some distinctive coloration patterns on their bodies. So here we have the familiar orca or killer whale, and they can be up to 9 meters in length. As you can see, they've got these white patches. So the white patches on the head coming from around their eye, the back of their eye, and then a saddle patch behind the dorsal fin on their back is also seen. These are very large, active cetaceans. You'll see them traveling quite fast and leaping out the water as well. Here we have the long-fin pilot whale, can be up to 6 meters in length. And this has some unique coloration patterns, particularly on its chest. So this white anchor shape on its chest. And it also has some like light grey, white eyebrow streaks and streaks just behind its dorsal fin. And this species has quite a broad-based dorsal fin, rather tall and recurved again, which is centrally placed on the body. As you can see from the head, it's quite a round head with no distinctive beak. And the white-beaked dolphin, which is quite a common species in the northeast, in the North Sea as well. These are quite robust dolphins. They're very active on the surface, like to leap and breach. And these have quite beautiful patterns of white streaks. So the most prominent one is the white beak, which gives it its name. This is quite a short beak, and also has the white streaks on its back just behind the dorsal fin. And here we have the common dolphin, which is commonest in the southwest. These are usually an offshore species, but will in the summer months come onto more coastal waters. They can be seen, they're very active animals, can be seen bow riding and leaping out the water quite a lot. And they're quite a slender animal, up to 2.5 meters long. And as you can see, the coloration on their flank, they have this hourglass pattern of yellow tan, and then it goes into more of a grey colour towards the tail flukes. And they also have quite a long, slender beak and a centrally placed recurved dorsal fin as well. Here we have the striped dolphin, which has beautiful patterns on it. And the shape of this dolphin is quite similar to the common dolphin, but as you can see, there's the different colorations. So it has this lovely stripe running from the eye to the tail fluke, and from the eye to the flippers, or the pectoral fins. Again, this has quite a long, slender beak and a centrally placed dorsal fin, which is, again, quite tall and recurved. Another dolphin species, the Atlantic white-sided dolphin, which can be up to 2.6 meters. So similar size to the common dolphins, but it has quite a shorter beak, and the patterning on its flank is more grey-white with the tan pattern towards the back of the body, heading towards the flukes. And again, has the centrally recurved dorsal fin. But this is all much darker colour on the top. So some cetaceans you might see have a lot have some skin marks on them, and the Rizzos dolphin, the distinguishing feature for the Rizzos dolphin is that it has quite a lot of scarring and scratches on its body, which is usually from fighting with other individuals. And the older the animal is, the more white it becomes. Also you can see that Rizzo dolphins have quite a rounded head with no beak, and quite a large recurved centrally placed dorsal fin. The second photo, you can see a Rizzo dolphin calf, which has these lines going vertically on the body. These are the fetal folds, so the calves come out of the mother's womb with these fetal folds on them, so you can distinguish the calves from the adults. And we have the Bottomnose dolphin, so the most well-known species. And however, this dolphin doesn't have any particular coloration patterns on them. They're just dark grey on top and white on the bottom. But these are very robust dolphins, and they can be up to 4 meters in length. And they have the centrally placed dorsal fin and a shorter beak. These are very widespread around the UK, have resident populations in the Cardigan Bay in Wales and the Moray Firth in Scotland. And you can often see them maybe individually or in larger groups. And you often see mother and calf pairs as well. And the calves will look a lot lighter than the adults. The final cetacean species is the Harbour porpoise, which is the smallest of the cetacean species. So these, when surfacing, these can look quite black, but they're actually quite, they're more of a brown colour with a lighter white underbelly. And as I mentioned, they have a centrally placed dorsal fin, but this is triangular in shape. They have a rounded head and no beak. These are very widespread around the UK, and as the name suggests, they can be found in harbours, in estuaries, and they can travel quite far up rivers. These are usually seen individually or in mother and calf pairs. They very rarely leap out of the water. They're not very active animals above the water. So what you're most likely to see is a dorsal fin and a small part of their back. So when also doing a watch or a survey, they're likely to see some seals. And so we have 2 species of seals around the UK, the grey seal and the common seal. And the grey seal is actually more common than the common seal. And we have 40% of the world's population of grey seals using the waters around the UK. So the common seal fur patterns tend to be rings or dots, whereas the fur patterns on grey seals are more blotches. And these blotches actually are unique to each individual, so these patterns can be used to identify individual animals. So the common seal has a smaller head, and the grey seal a much larger head. The common seal will have a concave forehead, whereas the grey seal has more of a flatter nose profile. The common seal has a shorter snout, and the grey seal has a longer snout. And then looking head on at the seals, you'll see that the common seal has more of a rounded face profile, whereas the grey seal will have more of an oval face profile. Okay, so thanks for your attention for all the cetacean identification points. So I'm just going to change over to my next presentation on how to complete the effort survey form. Bear with me. Right. So yeah, Landwatches, how to collect the data. So with a Landwatch, you want to choose a suitable site. So this could be a headland or a stretch of coast overlooking a bay or an island. And you want to be doing a watch that high up, so that you can get a good field of view, and so you'll have a good clear sighting of cetaceans. So ideally above 15 meters above sea level. Frequency of the watch. So for National Whale and Dolphin Watch, obviously we would like you to be able to survey as much as possible within that week. But if hopefully you'd like to continue throughout the year, and ideally we'd like to, it would be great if you could do a watch weekly, so as to, so for you're more likely to have a sighting, and also then the information that you collect is more useful. And then when to watch. So ideally you'd like to watch either 2 hours after dawn or 2 hours before dusk, as the lighting conditions are more favourable then. And also of areas with strong tidal currents, you would survey a couple of hours before and a couple of hours after the high tide, and this is particularly important in Somerset because of the high tidal range in the Severn Estuary. The duration of the watch should be between a minimum of 2 hours to 4 hours, to ensure that it's the best chance for you to have a sighting, and for the all the data you collect to be used effectively.
Sorry, Vanessa, just to your screen sharing isn't working.
Oh, sorry.
Press the desktop.
Press something.
You probably haven't actually clicked on the desktop, the view, if you see what I mean. We'll come out and try again. Right. Yeah.
Try again.
Try again.
Yep. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Where was I? I just did duration. So then you want to start your watch. You want to scan the area first of all with your bare eyes, and then mix that in with scanning with your binoculars. So binoculars are essential for a land watch. So you scan the area from left to right and back again, looking out for any splashes, any fins, anything leaping out the water. You could also look out for any seabirds that might be feeding where the cetaceans are feeding. You go. So the equipment that you need for a watch, as I mentioned, it's very important to have some binoculars. So there's a recommendation to have 7x50, 8x40, 10x50 magnification for your binoculars to get the best field of view. And a watch could be useful, so you can keep track of your time, as you need to record effort every 15 minutes, which I'll go into in a minute. A compass could be useful for determining direction that animals are traveling in. Then also, of course, you'd like to bring your watch form and a pencil to write with, and then some appropriate clothing, so usually waterproofs, sunglasses can help with the glare from the sea, and also sunscreen. So here we have the land-based effort recording form, and so it has kind of divided up into 3 sections. So to start with, you need to fill in, it's important to have the date that you're doing the survey and the site name, and then to record the latitude and longitude to make to have the accurate information of where the sightings are seen. I'll go through that bit in a minute. And then you have this table for the effort environmental data. So you're recording the time, sea state, swell, wind direction, visibility, and any other additional notes to include, such as boat activity, which can, if it's quite busy on the water with boats, then it can affect sightings. And then the bottom table is for when you have a sighting, and so when to record, where to record the species, group size, distance that you see it from shore, and the direction it's travelling and behaviour. But I'll go through all this in a mo. At the bottom, there's just like a little ID guide, like summary, to help you out when you're actually on the survey, and if you forget kind of some behaviours or the sea states and things. So yeah, as I mentioned, the latitude and longitude important to record to get an accurate idea of where the sighting is. So basically, latitude is how far north or south you are from the equator, and then the longitude is how far west or east you are, and then you want to record whether you are west or east from the prime meridian, or the Greenwich meridian. These can be found using apps like Google Earth, but don't worry about this too much if it's you can't work it out, because we can fill that in a later date. So effort time. So there's a little bit on there just to tick whether it's GMT or British summertime. So in National Weather and Dolphin Watch, it will be British summertime. The time is in 24-hour format. And then you want to record the effort data, ideally every 15 minutes, or when conditions change, such as whether the wind speed picks up, so then the sea state changes, so you would then record that time and then go on 15 minutes again, or when there is a break in effort, such as if you have a sighting, then you are focusing on that sighting rather than focusing on the whole area, so you would then record what time you had the sighting, and then when you're back to scanning the area again, you would record that time. And you record the sea state, which is basically to do with wind speed, how it affects the sea. So a sea state 0 would be flat, calm, mirror-like conditions, which is the ideal. And then a sea state 1, you'd have some light ripples, and a sea state 2, you would have a light breeze, so there's more pronounced wavelets but no white caps. And then a sea state 3 is where you have a gentle breeze, so larger waves, and you have a few more white caps. And it's recommended that you would not do a watch above a sea state 3, because then you are most likely to miss something, as you'll be just looking at all the whitecaps thinking that something's breaching out the water, but it's not. And we have swell. Apologies, the photo hasn't shown up on this for some reason. But basically this is to do with wave height, so light, moderate or heavy, and you'd be wanting to do a watch where the swell is light. Visibility as well to be recorded, so how far you can see out from the coast. So yeah, so 1.5 kilometers, 6 to 10, or more than 10 kilometers. And then for when you have a sighting, you then want to, as I covered before, start with the looking at the length of the animal, and then if it has a dorsal fin, looking at the position, the size and the shape, and if they kind of dive deeply and lift up their tail fluke, whether you can get a good view of that and whether it has any patterns on that or any distinctive features on its tail fluke. You could look for the blow and see if that will give you an idea of the species. Look at the shape of the head and whether it has a beak, and then look for any colours or markings to help you with the identification. And so moving on to group size, it may be that you just come across an individual, so that's easy to count, but usually dolphins can be in quite large groups. Sorry, just a drink. So with the larger groups, you want to count all the animals that are at the surface, and any animals that are surfing up to 2 seconds later or too far away to have been the same animal. And then you want to recount frequently to get a good estimate of their number. And so with group composition, like I mentioned before, with the mother and calf, you might find, you might see some calves or juveniles. So the calves will be close to an adult female, not necessarily their mother, but they'll be close to another adult. And so yeah, just look out for the different sizes and different colorations for the juveniles and calves. And then you would want to take your time before assessing their behaviour. And so they might show a few behaviours, and as I mentioned on the form, there is some a little key to help you to remember, but then there's this long list of behaviours that you they might exhibit. So start with, they may be just travelling. So a slow, so you've got the slow travelling, normal swimming, or fast swimming. So the slow swimming would be that you get quite a good view of the animal as they gently swim along, just surfacing to breathe. And then a faster swim, you'll see a lot of splashing, and they're porpoising, so leaping, like swimming out of the water but above the water to gain speed. Another behaviour you may see is feeding. So definite feeding is where you'll see lots of fish either coming up out of the water. So this is of a baleen whale just what's the word, going skimming the water with their baleen plates to take a big gulp of fish. Or you might see the baleen whales leaping out the water with their mouth quite wide open, taking a big gulp of water. You might see some dolphins with fish in their mouths. But other times you might not see any fish at all, but it looks like the animals just staying in the area for quite a long time, going in no particular direction. And you may see their tail fluke as they dive down for some fish. So that would be suspected feeding. A lot of the dolphin species like to bow ride, so taking advantage of the wake of the boat to carry them along. Or you may see some cetaceans just resting at the surface, so they're at the surface just resting, but still being able to breathe. And the most exciting behaviour to see is when they're socializing, or their percussive behaviour as well, where they're leaping out of the water, tail slapping, yeah, just doing, and sometimes dolphins like to do lots of flips. So this is really, really great to see. If you're lucky enough and you're not just seeing just the dorsal fin and then it disappears. But yeah, so this is all their percussive behaviour that either is for like communicative purposes or they're just doing it for fun. So yeah, when you've collected all this data and written it all down on your form, it's really important that you do report these sightings. So you can either submit your sightings on the online sighting form on the Seawatch Foundation website, or you can email them to them. Here's the online sightings form, very simple to fill in. And with your National Whale and Dolphin forms, or any effort form that you can fill in throughout the year, then please do send those over, along with any videos or photos that you might have been able to take. Yeah, these are all the emails there, and which I can make sure that if you don't get them down now, that you will have, that I could email those to you in a later date. So yeah, and this is just a bit about this year's National Whale and Dolphin Watch. There is a competition, so there's a few great prizes from Rip Curl and from some like homeware. You can get some vouchers for like a online homeware shop. So yes, if you send in your form, then you'll be automatically entered into this competition to win these prizes. And just to note that all this data will also be shared with the Somerset Wildlife Trust as well, and from, if you're not from Somerset as well, to other wildlife trusts. So it does get shared elsewhere as well. Okay, and that's everything. So thank you very much for your attention. Yeah, we can go on to some questions. Stop sharing this.
Screen share. Okay, so thank you, Vanessa. That was really useful, hopefully, for people. I know that we did say it was 45 minutes and we're coming up to that now. So if anyone does need to rush off, I've got all your email addresses and I will send out a link to this recording so you can watch it again if you want, and also links to the Seawatch and Somerset Wildlife Trust pages and any other bits of information you might find useful. So if you do have to go before we finish, then we'll send all of that to you. Also, just before we open the questions up to Vanessa about specific points, again, if people need to go. So as Vanessa said, part of the reason we did this now is because from the 25th of July to the 2nd of August, it is National Whale and Dolphin Watch Week. So in normal circumstances, we would be arranging group watches at places for those of you in Somerset along the Somerset coast. But obviously at the moment, that is potentially tricky because we're doing this in Somerset through the Wildlife Trust, and I've just literally come back off furlough now. We didn't think we were quite ready yet to get our heads around how to do that, so apologies. There were a whole series of Seawatch events throughout the year, 4 of which we had to cancel during lockdown. We did have one in August as well, which also is cancelled, although on the website it says it's fully booked, but we have cancelled it simply because we just didn't have time to sort it out. But from September onwards, So September, October, November, December, we have got Seawatch things still on our website. If you're in Somerset, you can still book on them, but we don't know yet exactly how we're going to manage that. So it might be on a first come, first served basis, and we give you more information nearer the time. But I think the idea was we do this training now so that people could at least anywhere, not just Somerset, obviously, just go out and do this themselves, or just in their bubbles or with a couple of friends. So you can get all the information, as I say, from the Seawatch website, all the forms and stuff like that. And hopefully, from what Vanessa said, you'll feel able to go out and give it a go yourself. So yeah, any specific questions to Vanessa, you can just stick your hand up or write in the chat, however you want to do it really, and I'll try and spot people. You need to unmute yourself. Okay, so Ian, you have a question, if you just want to unmute yourself first.
Yes, obviously this is meant to be for Somerset, but if we wanted to sort of do something like this down on the south coast, would that be sort of eligible, or do you want us to really keep to the Somerset coastline?
No, definitely, yeah. Do it anywhere along the coast you would like to, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think if you can do it, especially if you can do it during those dates, 25th of July to 2nd, that is National Marine Week. Whereabouts on the south coast do you live, Ian?
Well, no, we live in Taunton.
Oh, okay.
But we tend to go to the Bristol Channel side, and we tend to go to the south coast as well, sort of thing. So it would be predominantly the Bristol Channel side that we would go to, sort of like Exmoor, like, you know, Porlock area, that kind of thing, probably. There's obviously a good spot there at Hurlstone Point, which is probably the best spot on the Bristol Channel side, I should think. But, but we go to other places as well. So
during the presentation, Julia asked about some good spots to watch from. So again, just from a Somerset Southwest point of view, I just typed in the chat headlands or higher vantage points, but I don't know, Vanessa, if you want to give some specific examples of good places.
Other than Brean Down, I don't really know anywhere else. Brean Down's good, but it's where we went before. But if there's any other fairly east of the area spots.
So yeah, there's Sand Point from near Western Supermare. That's that's accessible for you. Otherwise, I guess it will be around Kilve, the cliffs on Kilve.
We were talking about Clevedon Pier as well, weren't we?
Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry, yeah. And at the moment, we can't do any surveys from Clevedon Pier, as there's quite a few restrictions to get on there. But if you go a bit more east, there's Lady Bay. There's actually quite a good little platform there to do a survey from, which I discovered the other day. So yeah, and there's ample parking around there as well.
And Portishead?
Portishead as well, yeah. The problem with Portishead is it's not particularly high, you can't really get high up, but around Battery Point and Blacknor Lighthouse, there have been sightings of harbour porpoise. A lot of people see them from their gardens, so the houses are a lot higher up. But yeah, but if you can watch from the lighthouses, it's just not a very high vantage point.
Yeah, and then moving westward, so that the actual locations we've got when hopefully we can start doing communal sea watches is which you could do before then, is Kilve, which is just before Watchet. Watchet Harbour itself, if you're going to Watchet Harbour and walk out to the end of the harbour wall. St Audrey's Head, which again is just before Watchet. You can get quite high up. And then Minehead, again, Minehead Harbour at high tide. Lots of these places, of course, if it's low tide, especially if it's harbours, you're too far away from the sea, so you need to know the tides. And then the best spot probably in Somerset is Hurlstone Point. Was it you, Vanessa? Was it someone else who posted the picture of the porpoise with its calf?
I posted, but that was someone else that took the photo. But yeah, there was. A few days ago, I think it's been harbour porpoise, mother and calf has been sighted for a few days at Hurlstone Point recently. yeah, it's a really good spot to go see them.
So Louise has asked, what time of day would you suggest doing the survey?
So the time of day, for favourable light conditions, so a couple of hours after dawn or a couple of hours before dusk is good for light conditions, but obviously they can be seen all throughout the day.
Any other questions from anyone?
I was just going to ask whether you've got like a Word document with that information in, or is it on the website for like best times of day?
Yeah, the Seawatch Foundation is the best place to look for that kind of, yeah, there's loads of information on there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I do have a booklet, but I have to sell those.
Okay.
Most of the stuff downloadable, isn't it, Vanessa, from the website?
There is a lot of downloadable fact sheets on the Seawatch website, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was going to ask about identification charts as well. Is that on the website too?
Yeah, they're all on the website. Yeah, all easily downloadable with PDFs, yeah.
And just to mention another identification chart, which is quite nice, which we take with us if we're doing it communally, is the Field Studies Council do some really nice laminated fold out ID charts on all sorts of wildlife, but they've got one on cetaceans, which is quite nice. Again, I'll put that in the email, but the Field Studies Council, if you go to their publications page and search for whales and dolphins, that's quite a nice handy one to have with you. And
in terms of tide times as well, there's few good apps that you can download which will tell you local tide times they give you like weekly tide times particularly if you're more east along the Somerset coast.
Yes. Does the state of the tide matter?
It in the Severn Estuary, yes, because the tide will be quite far out. You will not likely to see something, but on the whole, it doesn't matter. But there is evidence that some species, like particularly Harbour porpoise, will feed on in the strong tidal currents. So around high tide is a good time to see Harbour porpoise, particularly when they're feeding, which is which they do a lot around Hurlstone Point. So.
Yeah, Julia.
As I don't have a printer, is it possible to actually, are there forms to fill in? It looked, somewhere we just saw, it looked as if it was possible to actually do that online.
Yeah, that's for the sightings. So when you have a sighting, you can fill in just the online.
But the background, is it possible to actually get hold of some paper forms?
Yes, I'd be happy to send you some forms.
Would
if
you
you're
mind?
happy.
That'd be lovely, because I don't have a printer at the minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. Thank you.
Right.
It's the trouble with retiring, you don't have work printer anymore.
Yeah, maybe if you drop Vanessa an email, it was on the email, and she could
Thank you, I will.
Okay, any other questions? Jess, again.
So you're talking about the sea state. If it's above 3, is there any sort of like associated like wind speeds? Like if you were looking at the weather and thinking, oh, over this amount, it's probably likely that the sea state is going to be bad. Yeah. So you can sort of pre-plan if it's.
Yeah, that's a good question. If it's 20 mile an hour, like, would that sound about right, Mark? I can't
remember without checking the Beaufort scale. If you Google a Beaufort scale, you'll see. I think the sea state versus the wind speed.
Okay.
I guess anything above a force 3 or 4 is probably going to be a bit dodgy, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. Unmute yourself. Sorry. Still can't hear you. You're still muted.
There you go. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Northumberland coast, obviously a bit different to what you run about Somerset. The tide and the wind and the whole weather changes very quickly, so it's quite interesting. We've had a few sightings in various weather conditions, so hopefully that'll help with it, because as I say, we can change within literally minutes over here.
Yeah, so as long as you're recording all that like environmental data, like the wind, like the sea state and the conditions, yeah, then when Seawatch do use that for their analysis, then they will take that into account. So yeah, it's great that you still get to see something, but it's also likely, good spotting. But yeah, it's also likely that you might have missed something, so that will be taken into account when they look at the data.
Okay, thank you.
I guess the other thing I would just add, as we're kind of coming to the end, is we did manage to do a couple of sea watches before lockdown. I know, Julia, you're on the Breen Down one, and I think if you haven't done them before, one thing I would say, especially if you're doing them in Somerset and maybe Northumberland as well, is you need a lot of patience and you need to have quite low expectations. I would say the two things. So I think the best way to go, the state of mind to go in, is I'm going to have a lovely 2 hours just sitting, looking out at sea and contemplating life, the universe and everything. Then if you see something, that's brilliant. But I think that's probably the way to approach it. And I think especially in Somerset, the other thing I was going to say is that part of the reason we're doing this, I don't think, well, at least not recently, we haven't managed to get such a concerted effort and set of dates in the calendar to do a whole series of sea watches along the whole coast for quite a few years. So it's why Vanessa and I were really interested in doing this. Even if we were to do it every month and see nothing, as a scientist, that's still interesting, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But having said that, I think because we just don't know what's out there, and my perception is, and Vanessa might want to back this up, is that there is, especially porpoises, there's a lot of porpoises in the Bristol Channel. But because people don't look, we just don't know how common they are. We don't really know anything about them. So it's really interesting and useful. And as I say, the data does go to the Seawatch Foundation. It does go to the Somerset Record Centre. And we're just building up a picture. And Vanessa has been doing this a lot longer than me. And there has been individuals going out in small groups. And if you go to the Somerset Wildlife Trust website and go to the page, which is about Seawatch, we have uploaded the Somerset Seawatch report from 2014-2018, which you can again look at or download, which shows you that yes, we do get cetaceans in the Bristol Channel, porpoises and dolphins. So yeah, it would be great if people can join us if they live in Somerset. They can't join us, then the more people go out and just do it themselves off their own back, the more data we've got and upload it all, then that's going to be really useful. And I think, the other thing I would say that surprised me is that porpoises do weird things like swim up rivers. So we have seen them on the Parrot, we have seen them on the Tone, going quite a long way up rivers. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. You never know when you might see them. Someone's just asked, Lindsay just asked, can we do watch at any other time, i.e. not in a given week? And is it still worth sending it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, if you can collect all year round, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, and I think the National Whale and Dolphin Watch Week is just to give Seawatch like a snapshot, maximum effort in just 1 week. But Seawatch want data for the whole year. So I think how the work, the Wildlife Trust has been set up. We were going to do it every single month. So obviously we've missed that, but we will roll over into 2021 when hopefully we'll be able to get a whole year's worth of data under our belts. So yeah, either as a group or individually, we just want people out there with their eyes peeled looking for cetaceans.
Thank you. It's the 1 week I can't do in the whole of
anytime, anywhere around the UK, we want the data. So yeah, fill it in. Okay, any final questions before we sign off? Okay, so just finally to say thank you again to Vanessa for the really useful PowerPoint. And as I said, I will send all the information and links and things through to people so people can view it at their leisure. Sign up on our website if you want to get involved, but it will be first come, first serve. But hopefully we're hoping, Vanessa and I are both there. With the current restrictions, we could get 12 people out in two groups, 10 people out in two groups of 6, if that makes sense. Me and 5 and Vanessa and 5. But hopefully, if the restrictions ease even more, we can have even larger groups. So just get your name up there and we'll get in touch. But just do it yourself anyway is the other big message. And also, if you're interested in other kind of citizen science stuff from the Somerset point of view, the other thing which we probably will be able to start with current restrictions is our shore search survey. So the shore search survey is doing surveys of intertidal rocky shores along the Somerset coast, again, adding to a national database. So again, there's all information on the website if you want to sign up for that. So thank you very much for attending, and hopefully see some of you in real life on a headland near you fairly soon. And for those of you who aren't in Somerset, thank you for joining us, and fingers crossed you'll be able to catch some cetaceans, maybe even bigger than porpoises.
Yeah.
So okay, we'll sign off there. So thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.